Okay, this is a corporate model. I don't know how exciting this is going to be. I'm in Singapore right now, in a hotel with no windows, but it's interesting how that affects you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to focus mainly on just the inputs. Now, this part of the model has a classification of all the accounts, whether they're asset related or EBITDA related, the balance sheet accounts, or EBITDA related, or financing related, and then we have a profit and loss statement, and finally a cash flow statement, and we use the index function to make this graph. I think you can, it just graphs every single account. You can just make a little box to just kind of collect all these. What happened? There's some blanks. Okay. Here's the problem. The return on equity was I think, pretty high. The real question is, can they maintain this return on equity? And then we looked at the where was the return on invested capital? That was even higher, and I really should understand why this. Here's the invested capital. It was kind of going down. Oh well, I don't know where it was. Okay. So, what I did here, let me just waste your time by Shift Control R, and these things come whenever it says net. The little PDF to Excel thing puts underline in there for you. Okay, and whenever it says total, it puts an underline in for you. That's how it works. I suppose if you wanted to find another word or take that out, you could. Now, what we're doing is let's look at growth in contract services. So the first thing we do is we say, okay, well, let's put an if statement and go to the little key thing, which is the true and false switch, which has a true if it's true if it's the historic switch. Now, if this is just the income statement, this was kind of a pain to go all the way. We go divided by that minus 1, of course, to get the growth. Shift Control R, and then we have some things that go up and down. I don't know if it's a variable cost or a fixed cost. Now, if we're going to do this next time, why don't we, oh, there was the R, I see it's way down here. Why don't we put Shift alternate right arrow, hour. The real lesson here is figuring out and really using the ROIC and the return on the return on equity. ROIC, I think, is better one for this, and we can, I suppose, do the same thing for the income statement or the profit and loss statement, but seeing if that ROIC can really be sustained. All the rest of these detailed assumptions, you can get way too lost in the details now. That's what I'm going to do. So let's open the profit and loss statement, and we have all these. Now, I put a little code number. What we can do with these code numbers is use the data validation, and let's just how about this? I'm gonna find some other sheet. I don't care about that. Care about that. Okay, how about this? 1, 2, 3, and we just kind kind of silly here, but we go to the data validation, and we first put a settings, and let's just put a list of values. And the nice thing about this new Excel is that you can just go and find those. Okay, and an input message, and we put code for input, and we say 1 is the average, 2 is the last historic value, 3 is the input. Okay, I don't think we have to put an error alert. Okay, and then if you want to copy that, you can put Control Alt E. Oops, let's copy it first. And I think we have to do it like this, as special as N for validation. Okay, and then let's copy that down. Okay, and if we want it applied, we'll do it in a minute. Now average, we use average if, and we click on the entire row, press F4 so you can copy this down later and put true. And then the nice trick is you can just click on the whole thing, Shift Control P. If you want to get the last value, you can look up, okay, and you can click on this value, and that's which is the last historic year. Press F4, and again click on exactly the same thing, and it'll find just the last value. And if we want to put a 6% growth rate or something, we can do that, and then we can put equal index and select these and put this one in. Now let's once we have that, okay, Shift Control P, let's say doubtful accounts to revenues. This is kind of a simple and obvious thing to do. We go to the allowance for doubtful accounts in the operating expenses, 65, and then we divide that by the revenues. Okay, and let's divide that by the, how about this one? We could choose which one we do. Okay. Now, of course, what I should have done, I forgot to, is put an if statement, and I think I did that wrong with this one too. Now, what we should have done over here is instead of the false, we should have put comma, and always use this one and press the F4 key a couple of times. Okay, Shift Control R. So now we can choose. Let's on this one take. How about we take number 3? Of course, you can move this around a little, you know. Okay, so this one, Shift Control P, Shift Control R. Whoops, one more. I'm going to have to revise that so it goes across. Okay. Now we can just Control D, copy this down, and well, of course, this input we don't want. Maybe the input we put 0.2%, something like that. And then we have this, and of course you can press. I keep on saying "of course," which perhaps is extremely irritating to you, because if this is your first video for some reason, then you don't know all of these things. So I'll stop saying "of course." And the fees, I don't know what to do with the fees. They're not a big deal. Fees, taxes, and permits. Well, you know, that probably goes up with revenues or something, or just grows. What did we do? So we have to put, well, we put just growth. Well, let's put it as a percent of revenues. It actually might just grow a bit. So let's do the same thing. Let's this time start with an if statement. And we take the fees, and then we divide those by the revenues. Oops. If it's the true, then we take those fees and divide those by the revenues. Otherwise, well, we'll just leave it for now. Shift Control P, Shift Control R. And we can just do this one. It's actually pretty similar, isn't it? Let's put 0.15%. Okay. Again, this one is the average if. This one is this. So other costs, we'll make that as a percent of revenues. Maybe that could be a percent of all the other costs, you know, but then we'd have to have a subtotal of costs, and I'm too lazy for that. So again, I didn't do the end of this, remember, on both of these. We have to put this on here for maybe almost, this should be some sort of a different color, or bold or something. I don't know what you think would be good. Okay, so we have all of these fixed kind of expenses. Now, of course, a lot of the expenses you might want to switch around. In this case, we have different growth rates in the time series that goes from different years, and in this case what I did was I said, well, if it's the history, take that one at the top. Otherwise, pick one of the 4 different things. So this, we have kind of a code number, which is different than these other code numbers. This code number is just like this one. Or pay special N. Okay. Now, so let's make the last one. So that's going to be the other revenues, other expenses. Where's the other costs as a percent of the revenues? Shift Control P, and we put if, and we say that one, and then we Shift Control R, and then we take this one. Okay, now these other expenses, if we take this maybe is 1.5% or something. Okay, how about I for right now just press Control B. Let's just, that's the one we're actually applying, and these are the, you see up here I put kind of how they work. And then now we'll just work through the depreciation rates and all the rest of it. I'm going to save this for a minute. And I think we'll pick it up in when I go out to breakfast here. I'm in Singapore, so it's actually 6 in the morning. Okay. I hope you can hear me. There might be a little bit of background noise. Let's just work on the next section. So here's in making these assumptions, strongly suggest putting that in categories. So let's put the net time depreciation rate. And then how about we'll put the tax rate. Now, I go over and over and over again on this. Depreciation can be a big source of error in the models if you're not very, very careful.
with retirements. Whoops. I am recording. I didn't know if I was recording. Je veux faire une vidéo en français. Je pense que plus tard, je vais essayer de faire cette chose en français aussi. And then let's put capital expenditures to sales. Now, this time, unlike the other one, we'll practice making one where we have a historic level, and then let's put a base low case. I always put the low case first because a long time ago I was a banker and can only think about pessimistic things and downsides in my life, in case you haven't been able to see that if you've ever listened to any of the videos, and then put a high case. Okay, and then let's put our code number here too. So this time we'll put 1, 2, or 3 as a code number. Okay, and once we have that, we can perhaps I should have left that in. Okay, so perhaps to begin with, we can start with the this one. Now, so let's look at our net plant depreciation rate. Now, as usual, this time we're going to go to the true, of course, and we'll go to the balance sheet. First of course we go to the profit and loss statement. Of course, I'm saying of course again, divided by, and you really should take the prior year depreciation if we're going to use the net plant depreciation rate. Now that's an enormous problem here because we won't be able to have it really for 2 years. Let's making something at a breakfast place. Okay, I don't know if you're seeing my little thing. Okay, shift control R. Now, the only way I can do this is to make it manual. So here's numbers and the average width and the sum off and all that works. So let's maybe put 5.5. And we have the 3 as the input, and of course we put this in. Okay, and shift control R, shift control P. Again, that's only because you have if you have opened your file at some time with the generic macros. And then to get our tax rate, let's put the let's go to the income before taxes. Of course, the taxes. This time they really cool. They split up the deferred taxes and current taxes. I think for this one, I'm going to make a shift control P. Let's make shift control R. Now, I didn't put the if statement for the historic switches. Click on that storage. Click on the first one. Now, of course, Okay, I just pressed F3 a few times. Control R. The only reason I'm boring you with any of this, I think their actual tax rate is 30%. The only reason I'm boring you with any of this is that when we'll do one more here for another scenario analysis. Let's take the capital expenditures that we have on the profit and loss statement, on the cash flow statement, and divide that by the level of sales. So I hope I open the cash flow statement and I'll give it, which is good, because then when I press that down, we put the capital expenditures here, and then come on. So we put an if statement and click on the capex, and then if it's true, let's put the okay, we have that. Oops, this is too low in the cash flow statement. The disposal of the cash, but investments in associates is really this one divided by the level of the sales on the profit and loss statement. Okay, and we better put this now. There could be a debate. You could say, oh, why don't we just do that forever? You know, why don't we do that when we make our, oops, what did I just do? Clicked on the wrong thing. Okay, maybe we could say that's the right kind of input to put in for the, and actually, you know what I'm going to do? I didn't think of this. But we could put the average, okay, let's put the average here on the last value too. So we have 3%. Now let's say we have a base this time, we'll do it a little bit different. Let's put a base case where we think there's going to be a large capital expenditure up front, and then they're going to spend 3%, and then we're going to put 3.5% for the remainder. Okay? And then we can say, well, in the low case, we spent 8%, a little bit more, and then we spent 4%, and we spent 5% on an ongoing basis. Okay, and in the high case, we only needed 3%, and we'll just continue that for the duration. Now then we can make our final case and use a code number. This time we'll use the index function again. Let's just take and decide which one to take. But when we go to the kind of final number, let's say, well, if it's the historic switch, then we'll take this one. Otherwise, we'll take an index of the 3 different values. And we put our index number over to our code number. Okay? And Shift Control P. Shift Control R. Okay? That's our, oops. We didn't finish it. Shift Control C again to color all the inputs. Okay, and that's our capex. And I think what I'm going to, well, how about we'll do 1 or 2 financing assumptions. Let's put the interest income rate. And then we'll need the interest expense rate. And And I think we might need a dividend payout ratio. And feels like I'm forgetting something, which I thought, perhaps a minimum cash balance. Okay. Now, when we get these kind of assumptions, how about we'll copy this over here to get started. Okay. And then we don't have it yet. So, interest income rate. Let's go up and look at the, you can do it in a couple of places, I think down here. Interest received. Okay, but I'd rather go to the profit and loss there. And now this time, when we go to the profit and loss statement, got to be a little bit careful. It's kind of like the depreciation. We're not going to be able to get it. This is, they express it as a negative for some reason. And then we can express that as the opening in a balance, because we're going to have oops, I'm making something. I apologize for the background. How much I can't go. I can't go to Starbucks. I'm going to some nice little coffee shop. I hope they stop that noise. And I suppose we should make that as a negative number because they expressed it as a negative number. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn this off because it's the background. And make the right. Okay, it's loud and I'm going to finish this quickly. So, after we have this, you know, the nice thing about these is you can just copy these things down. So I just, once we have the accounts receivable and the sales, we just copy whatever we have before. And we can kind of inspect the input or something like that and put it in. And then, of course, what you need to do is to start listening to all of these, and then we've got all of the amounts. Now, when we go to the, it's a lot noisier now because it's a little bit later. When you have things like other income or other items, I would just keep it on the last one. Did I do this? Did I? Yes, I pressed the X there. Okay, now when we, I put total cash expenses, and then we put the accounts receivable or accounts payable as a percentage of that. Now, of course, what I forgot to do is put some numbers there. Now we're going to graph all of these, and then I think I'll do that in the next video because it's so loud. I think the quality is really going bad. But when you get to other assets, I would do the same thing. I would go down and get the sum. And once you get the sum, then you can just put all the other assets together. Now, there might be some important changes in the other assets or in all of the other liabilities. So you just put them all kind of in one separate category and copy them down. Okay? And then we have the financing assumptions. To put the financing assumptions, I put the minority interest or the cash in. I'm going to get the common equity from the balance sheet. Okay, and okay, where's here's the common equity, and then we can get the minority interest. Now, on these, what did I just do? Control B, I thought, and then shift control up. Okay, and then we can put the interest income rate on the opening balance because of a circular reference problem. Now, of course, I have a ridiculous number, so let's put the interest income rate to 2% or something. And we can, here's a good example. Let's copy this down, shift down arrow, control D, and I don't know why. What happened here? I don't know why our interest expense is so extremely high as a percentage of the debt. I might have some problem with getting the debt up at the top. I might have made a mistake. I've never done that before. You know, I don't know what's happening. And then we can do the same thing for the minority interest. So just copy that, push this down here, and let's say that's just 1%. And finally, let's do the same thing for the cash balance. Now, the cash balance as a percentage of revenues, a lot of people just use kind of a 2% number. So they had some surplus cash, okay, and that's going to be 2. Okay. So that's it, and now we'll make the revenues, and I'm stopping the video. That's the assumption.